Hey everyone, today is part 2 of a 2-part series on how to extract rental information from Rentometer using Python. Now, it's one of the best ways in order to extract data and assess property information by automating the process with Python so you eliminate errors and you're able to assess investments as a whole with more data. My name is Ariel Herrera with the AnalyticsAriel channel, where we bridge the gap between real estate and technology. If you enjoy these simple tutorials and fun facts in order to actually increase your knowledge in looking at investment properties and the data available, then please subscribe to this channel so you get the latest content and like us on social media. All right, let's get started. Great, so in the last video, we were able to actually take this information that we are able to do on Rentometer's page and put it into a Python notebook and get it programmatically. So the whole part of Rentometer is that you're able to get quality information on rent data, such as the median, min, max, and from there you can do your own assessments on understanding if it's something you should invest in or if you should increase your own current property rents. So here we have an example where we're able to see some of that rental information and the properties that were assessed by Rentometer. Now, if we go back to the Python code, what we did in the last section is we showed a one-off. If you wanted to look at a single property and be able to use the API using Python, how exactly you would do that. But usually you're not looking at one property at a time, right? You're usually looking at a list. So in this example, I have additional code on how you would do that with multiple addresses. So let's imagine that we have a data frame. We're going to run this cell. It's pretty small. We only have 2 different addresses, and we have bedrooms as well as bathrooms. Now, what we want to do is a for loop. So we want to basically say, for each property in the row for my table, go out to Rentometer, pass in the address and additional information about the property, and get back rent information. So in order to do that, I created a function called getRentometerSummary because we're hitting the summary API. So if we go back to the top, we have several parameters, and this follows what's in the developer specs. So developer specs, you can put in information like bedrooms, bathrooms, building type, and look-back days as optional. However, there are some nuances. So for baths, you cannot put, say, 2 or 3. Once you go over 1, it's just 1.5 plus. So I handle that in the function. As well, when you're looking at look-back days, so how far do you want to look at rental comparables? Do you want to look just in the last 3 months or maybe 4 years? Well, there is a limit that Rentometer looks back, which makes sense because it's probably going to be not relevant information if you're looking very far back. So in this case, I also am able to handle when you put maybe too few months or too many, how to adjust that automatically. So let's review that in the Python code, which is available in the link below. You can copy this over as long as you have a Google account for free. So what we're doing here is we're first saying check if we passed in an address or something that will allow us to find the property. If we didn't, just stop this whole entire process and return back that we need to have those parameters. Next, we have our variables. So we want to hit the API version 1 summary to get that rent data. Then we also want to handle when we have, say, too many bedrooms. So if we have 5 bedrooms, that's not going to be handled by Rentometer's API. So whenever that occurs, just leave it as 4 as the max. Same kind of logic with bathrooms and with look-back days based on what can be handled by the API. Next, we have all those parameters. And say if the user doesn't enter or the information, we don't have number of bedrooms, it's going to automatically pass as none, so we don't have to worry about always having that, but we must always have an API key, an address, or a latitude and longitude to make up for the address. So this part over here goes to that base URL, which is the API. It sends the parameters, like the address, the API key, and then we return the response that we get back from Rentometer. So now skipping back down to the code, I create quickly a list. This is where we're going to have all of our responses back from Rentometer. Next, in this row, what we're basically doing here is we have our data frame, so our table called df_addresses. And for each row, we want to pull information from it. So this is the information we want to pull. We want to pull the address, the beds, and the baths. And once we pull that, we are going to send that into that function so that the function can then handle that information and it could ultimately give us our output. So if I run this here, it just got information for those two addresses and it appended the response, so it captured the responses in a list so that we can go back to it. Now if we look at the first element in the list, we look at the text, we could see, yes, we were able to get back the information that we wanted. But how do we get this so that it's still in a tabular format? We have everything all in one. We want to see address, the information on the property, and then the rent information. So that's basically what I'm doing in here is I have a couple of for loops and I'm saying for every single response that we captured, so in this case it was 2 for 2 properties, put that into a JSON format and grab different information. So I realized here I actually grabbed the same, so I'm going to change this to median, max, and min. So if we look at the JSON format, which we had up here, we could see that's the names of the keys. So that's why I'm querying those specific key names to get those values back. Now, next up is I'm going to run this. And what I'm doing here is I copied the original table, and for each of these new columns, I'm setting what those values are going to be. So what I just did above, run this, and now we have a table that actually has the rent data, the mean, median, max, and min. And what's really, really cool that's new to Google Colab is you can click this button and it almost acts like you have an Excel file just straight inside the notebook. So you can actually do filters, and if we added more information on here, for example, we could quickly filter on properties that had only a certain minimum band for mean, or maybe if we calculate a cash flow, what that cash flow is. Now for the last step, always easier to have this data in your hands, or for me, in an Excel file. So if we run this, Google Colab then transforms this so that we can open this information inside Excel. And if you had a larger data frame instead of just these two, maybe you have a list of 100 properties, you could basically do the same process and you'd be able to get the rent data even faster. All right, that's how you're able to get rental information from Rentometer using Python for a whole list of properties. Hope this has been helpful. If so, please leave comments below, or if any ideas of other APIs you'd like me to look into. All right, thank you so much, and please subscribe.